And welcome once again to Flashpoints. I'm Bob Orr, along with Juan Zarate, our national security analyst. Juan, good to see you.
Bob, great to see you.
Our topic today, of course, is what's going on in Gaza, this fight between Hamas and Israel. This looks very, very bad. What do you think this is? Where do you think this is headed?
Well, this is a conflict that's been festering for some time. Israel's been weathering some of these rocket firing from Gaza. And you've had this question as to whether or not Israel would at some point have to go back into Gaza to fight Hamas. And so what you have now is an attempt by a lot of international players, the U.S. included, Secretary Clinton now visiting Jerusalem and Cairo to try to tamp down tensions and to try to convince the Israelis that now is not the time to go in with ground forces. The Israelis have to deal with the fact that they're weathering rocket fire still. They're dealing with an emboldened Hamas that has gained some international stature, some recognition. Recall that the Qatari emir, the leader of Qatar, visited Gaza just a few weeks ago, I think emboldening Hamas a bit. And you've got an Egyptian government that is aligned with Hamas ideologically. And so the landscape has changed for Israel, but they clearly don't want to have to go in if they can help it because of the potential damage not only to their own forces but to the broader security of the region.
In the past, the U.S. might have been able to reach out to Egypt, might have been able to reach out to Turkey to say, help us here, help us tamp this down. But now we see leaders in both of those countries pretty brazenly supporting Hamas.
No, that's right, and this has changed the landscape, in particular for Israel. And we've talked about this, Bob, on Flashpoints before, where Israel really feels encircled with fewer allies, with more emboldened enemies on their borders, enemies that are equipped with weapons like longer-range missiles that can hit cities like Tel Aviv. And so they're more vulnerable psychologically and militarily. And so that is a key factor. And you have the fact that Egypt and Turkey, other key players, have a different viewpoint here. Well, what's interesting about Egypt, though, Bob, is they're caught between a rock and a hard place. They certainly don't want a broader war, and they don't want a war that threatens their peace treaty with Israel. At the same time, they're ideologically aligned with Hamas, and they want to appear different than the Mubarak regime. They don't want to appear to be an American stooge. They don't want to be a defender of Israel. They want to support Hamas. Hamas has this broader international support. And so Egypt is really in a tough spot, but they hold the key in many ways to what happens in Gaza. They also don't want to take ownership of Gaza. That's the irony here. They don't want to have to, in a sense, govern Gaza or be responsible for it at the end of the day. And so the complications of this in Cairo are enormous. And the question for the U.S. is, do we use our leverage, in particular our funding, to help influence what Cairo does?
There's been a lot of talk about potential ceasefires. It seems like neither side wants us to escalate, but neither side's willing to go to the mat and say, yeah, okay, let's stop it.
Yeah, we're in a bit of a stasis here of sort of mid-range battle. And what's interesting, the Israelis have been able to defend themselves fairly well with this new missile defense system, Iron Dome. The Israelis claim it's been 90% successful, so a lot of the missiles and rockets headed toward Israeli population centers have been knocked down. And so it's given them some strategic breathing space. On the other hand, Hamas is feeling its oats. I mean, they feel powerful here, and they don't want to be the first to blink. And they want, if there's going to be a ceasefire, they want it on their terms, and they're asking for the lifting of the embargo and the blockade of Gaza as a condition of the ceasefire. And so they're trying to take full advantage of the conflict to meet their longer-term interests.
All right, well, we'll be keeping an eye on this story to be sure. Juan, thanks as always.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks to you for watching Flashpoints. We'll see you next time.